Hi, welcome to my set of videos. This is Patricia Ann Landon Regali, Chief Little Flower, coming at you from the trenches of having been targeted. I am a targeted individual that have been targeted since about the age of 25 for about a couple of years. Then it would recess into the background on and off until the year of COVID, about 2020, whenever gang stalking had reemerged in full force and full effect. At the time of this recording, it is November 2024, and the gang stalking, the PSYOP assignments still continue. And so my videos they're about my experiences as a targeted individual. I had been railroaded out of a successful and thriving career as a paramedic. I've been a paramedic for about 13 years before I walked away from my profession as a paramedic for two reasons. The first one was so I could speak freely about being heavily targeted and gang stalked in medical facilities by other medical professionals. If I were to hold a job in the medical world, that would be a huge conflict of interest for me and any potential employer. And so I have a passion for sharing this with the world because what's happened to me can happen to anybody. And if we were to shrink in fear, how would anybody ever rise up to protect themselves and to arm themselves with the knowledge of objective data? And additionally, since I was being targeted in the medical world, I knew it was a matter of time before somebody was paid to bear false accusations against my license. In other words, it was a matter of time before people would just make false accusations on my license. So those were the two reasons why I had nobly walked away from my career as a paramedic. And so I decided not to renew my license because if my license was inert and non-viable, nobody could make any accusation against it. So I stayed 10 steps ahead of the community-based harassment. And so these videos are about my thoughts. They're about my experiences as a heavily targeted individual. So thank you for stopping.
Hey, it's Patricia Ann Landon Regali, Chief Little Flower, coming at you on this bright, beautiful day of September 15, that's 1/5 on Saturday, 2025. So, how's it going for everybody? Are we fighting the good fight? Are we digging in our heels? Hoorah! Because it matters. Wow, I was, thinking about the template. And I want to say there is a certain scripted template that whenever you bring up the ideology of gang stalking to somebody, that those who are part of the indoctrination, part of the ones who have been to clown college to learn how to combat and how to stick it to the targeted individuals, one of the ones I've come across is, who's doing this to you? Because if this is happening, you should know who is doing this to you. I mean, sure, if it was an ex-lover and they're the ones committing the atrocities, sure, that's like a no-brainer. But if it happens to be people that you've never met before, people you've never had a true one-to-one honest conversation with, and who have been hired to work over targeted individuals, then how in the worldwide heck are you supposed to know who the F is doing this to you? As I see it, it's more of blame the victim. Well, because if you're being targeted by somebody, which is, you can use the word targeted individual interchangeably with gang stalking, because there's stalking that happens in singles, which is usually it's more accepted. But then to mention group stalking, oh, all of a sudden is an embarrassing of one's mind. I mean, come on now. Don't get fooled into the social engineering, because we get the whole concept and the whole ideology and practice of group stalking somebody, targeting an individual, from the Nazis, courtesy of Operation Paperclip. And so look up Operation Paperclip. It ushered in 1,000 to 300 Nazis into America and gave those wonderful assholes positions of power, which they had abused to the advantage of the government's seedy side, which is the government that you would know as the shadow government, the part of the government that we don't really talk too often about, which is alive and well, as evidenced by all of the gang stalking that goes on, which is targeting of the individual. It's the same thing. So if you want to use it interchangeably, go right on ahead. It is the same thing. And so, which basically at its root base is crimes against humanity. At its root base is community-based harassment, which at its root base is organized crime. And if you want to put a label on organized crime, they are RICO crimes. So I would like to prophesy that we as a nation will see in our day a open disclosure of these crimes against humanity, because as a collective society, there had been an amount of time between, I would say, about 2019, which was like a year coming up on COVID, and the year 2020, there was mass criminal activity against individuals who have been targeted. And I would say that collectively, as a targeted individual in a metropolis of a city, being Houston, I've seen the participation decrease. So on a scale of 1 to 10, me being a targeted individual out in the public, I have seen maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, a 3. So in my experience base, it has decreased. I don't know what it's like throughout the country. I don't know what it's like out in Washington at this time, but I would imagine that there have been ideology of gang stalking being the root of Democrats. And so since we're going from Democrats to Republicans out, in the upper echelon of the politically charged world, then that would account for the backslide of gang stalking. I'm not too knowledgeable in that. Visit targetedjustice.com to let your research begin from there. If you are researching targeting of the individual, it is every citizen's accountability to make themselves accountable to the information, because this affects every one of our lives. This affects our children's lives. This affects the lives of today. And how does it affect our lives? Well, if there is a shadow government that is at the interplay in the background of our day-to-day activities, if you're a targeted individual, your day-to-day activity can be researched, can be illegally surveyed, and they can be exploited to make the victim look unstable. And if you are on the receiving end, trust me, you're going to wish that you had been more proactive in learning what the schematics of gang stalking looks like at a cursory glance from a third party observation, or what it looks like from being targeted at a cursory glance, because you would have to know what to look for. So the schematic here is that intel is run on you. That means information is gathered behind your back about 3 to 4 years before the gang stalking comes into your face. And how does the gang stalking come into your face? It is being victimized by people you don't know with PSYOP assignments. And what are the PSYOP assignments? The PSYOP assignments are gaslighting techniques that is used to aim at the targeted individual. And you have people that go to get their training. When I say clown college, they get their training from the government and how to work over a targeted individual, because these assholes have their own echelon of superiority within the context of their own organization. One being that you have you have a handler that handles the people that are targeting the individual. So these people go to get their training and from their handler and how to handle the targeted individual. So whenever somebody's being handled per se, you can be handled in learning how to work over a targeted individual, or you can be a handler handling a targeted individual and pretend you're their friend when you're setting them up behind their back at the same time. So we get this historically, we get this from the Nazis, from the Stasi, Stasi, the German police. This is a page right out of their playbook. And in fact, if you visit targetedjustice.com, you can get a hold of the manual that actually teaches how to target individuals that have been historically in play within the context of our time frame. So this is not a new sociology weapon that's used against its own populace. This is citizen against citizen. And then one day with it, and I'm going to be talking to the future historians of 2050. What's up? How you doing? It's Patricia Ann Landon Regali, Chief Little Flower, coming at you from the past to tell you guys you have to be responsible for your own citizenship. Just because if you're born into it or you migrate your way into your own citizenship, you have to upkeep that. You have to protect that by being knowledgeable of what's going on. Just because you haven't heard an open disclosure out in the socially accepted media, per se, it doesn't negate the fact that it's been alive and well and has been at hearty play within the context of our generation between 2020 or 2019 up until about 2025. So that's like 5 solid years of reaping mayhem into private citizen lives. the tertiary trifecta of what the intended gain is. There's a trifecta at play with working over a targeted individual. This is a coven-based satanic organization at its root base. The first church, the primary benefit for the offender would be there is satanic sacrifice profits, which would be their own gifting. Like they think if you kill somebody with a psychic gifts, that they can procure the psychic gifts from killing said person. It is so diabolical and it's so psychotic. It doesn't matter if it's true. Personally, I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true for shit. But here's the kicker, people, is that these assholes of the covens, they think it's true. So when you think satanic practice, think psychotic megalomania, that these people think they have the right to work over a private citizen to drive them bonkers through deployment of gaslighting techniques that have been learned from the Stasi and passed down historically. And then, so watch out, 2050 future Houstonians, that you guys don't fall in the trap of this. We need to get the information out there. We need to be proactive. We need to teach the populace what has been going on right under its nose. And 10 to 1, you have a neighbor or you know people that have been practicing the underside, the seedy side of the shadow government ways. And these assholes are not the ones that you should be endeared into your inner circle, because they ain't got no integrity. They flip coin off the detriment of coming sideways at somebody. That's not who you should have as a lover. That's not who you should have as a confidant. And believe me, they don't let on their psychosis for squat. So you have to be very discerning in who you allow into your inner sanctum of your heart. And the secondary benefit of the trifecta of what a gang stalker organization has to solicit is life insurance gain. So they will actually take out false life insurance policies on somebody behind their back. So whenever the target expires, that they gain life insurance payouts. They get sudden wealth payouts. And then the tertiary effect is that if their target has notable DNA or rare blood type, that increases their value on the black market for organ harvesting. So my blood type is no secret. It's a Rh negative AB. I have the same blood type that is found on the Shroud of Turin. And procured the black market, my organs would bring over $1 billion. So that's why I believe I had been targeted. And so, and then the trifecta of what a diabolical organization that gains benefits of targeting an individual by gang stalking them to death because they want the target to commit suicide is the bonus would be energy harvesting. So that is a very much a truth. This is very much the future is now, honey. And there's technology out in the world that can energy harvest somebody. And if you want to amp it up to strange highness, that would be called loosh, Loosh. That would be looshing somebody. So it's like the cat and mouse, and the cat toying with the mouse before it moves in for the kill by looshing them. So this is where we are as a society, and it has been in play. The gang stalking has been so prevalent that in every street throughout our country, including side streets most people don't know is there is the presence of some stupid gang stalker that's ready to take their orders and be chomping at the bit to play these stupid psychotic games because they ain't got no integrity. You'd be very surprised in how well educated there are people out in the world that actually have succumbed to giving up their integrity to be goddamn gang stalking ass wipers of the shadow government, if you will. And then so this is the same shadow government that would tear up the life of a whistleblower. It's the same government that passed out them smallpox blankets to them Indians on the Oregon Trail of Tears. And God forbid you are a Native American Indian and you participate in that. It's like bitch slapping all of your ancestors, because the ancestors who had given sacred rights, sacred claims to this land, to have it busted up by foreigners that came in and tried to colonize the savages, you became the savage. I'm talking to my family, because I know I have family out there that have been participating in the gang stalking. I don't care to name them now. I've already named them in the past. If you want to know, research my other videos. I've got about 700 of them. Take your pick. So, but the program of this diabolical beast that we know is gang stalking, they're all templates. They have the same template that they use to systematically target an individual to cause them to commit suicide. Now, this isn't my first rodeo of 2020 being targeted. I have been targeted back in the year of 93, 94, when I was in my mid-20s. So I was targeted very, very hard, very ruthlessly. And in fact, some of the people that I had voiced it to who didn't believe me became some of the gang stalkers that have been in the background spearheading the psychological torture to get at me, to try to break me down. Well, you know, what all it did was train me up in how to become a survivor. I am a white glove Holocaust survivor. And whereas there have been many others that have come after me and before me who lacked the articulation to talk about what was happening to them, I have the articulation because I have had the experience of surviving the white glove Holocaust in my mid-20s. And then fast forward to my 50s, all it did was just fine-tune what I have known. So I pride myself on being the voice to break the silence, to break the stigma of having been gang stalked, and to break the stigma of people who live in a very narrow-minded spectrum of our country. Because if you were to take away the narrow-mindedness and see and just be accountable for your own research to even research the presence of gang stalking, it could blow your mind away, literally. Literally. I mean, you could end up with psychosis, because when you begin to realize that our country is a big lie, that shatters your stability. And it's okay if your stability takes a knocking. You just got to process it and then come back to center and ground yourself again. Because now what you have is more of a truth of the reality of which we are living, and not a reality that external factors would rather have you live, would rather have you believe, and what would rather control you by what you live and what you think and believe. It's a mind fuck. It's a psyop. I'm not saying all of the government is a psyop. I'm saying there's a shadow presence that is the psyop, that is run by covens, that are run by satanic practitioners. Because the whole of the gang stalking is a sacrifice circuit. If somebody is being gang stalked pretty hard, 10 to 1, it was a blood sacrifice in the sacrifice circuit to procure sudden wealth payouts to get money to be fake as fuck rich by playing these psychotic games. The psychotic games is all of the psyop assignments, which is all of the gaslighting, staged theater. If you want to know the details, find the manual from targetedjustice.com on how to gang stalk somebody. Be accountable for your own information. And in fact, gang stalking needs to be an open disclosure for the country, let alone the world. This is a global pandemic, because your new world order that is vying to be the grand poobah of the world are the Nazis. So, as I see it, the presence of Nazis has taken a hush-hush tone for the last 20 years by basically whitewashing it from our history. So, we always say, go to Google for this, go to Google for that. Honestly, if you want to be whitewashed, make sure you use Google every time. And what I mean by whitewashed is that it is the dumbing down, it is the filtering of historical notions. It is to take a huge grave situation and make it look innocent and pre-K. So use DuckDuckGo if you want to research the Nazis. But as I see it, the Nazis out in the public is being whitewashed to, oh, the Nazis had all of this wonderful technology that it made it okay for Project Paperclip to bring them into the United States so we could, as a country, gain technological advancement over the Nazis. That's what I see. What I see is a whitewashing of the grave situation on how the Nazis had emaciated the human race and killed so many people. And if you look up pictures from books backdated books, because I'm gonna say this to people. If you really want to research what the Nazis really were about, go to vintage used bookstores, buy up the books that you can right now, because those books will probably be burned, so they can be burned from the memory of us as a society. So when I say, what's up, Houstonians, in the future of 2025, this is who I'm speaking to. You have to know how horrible the Nazis were to us as a human race, as a populace, from all of the extinction and all of the mass murdering that it had presented to us as a populace. And everybody participating in the gang stalking of individuals, which you're participating in, is the extermination of individuals that has an underside that is demonic, literally demonic. I mean, because it's a sacrifice circuit that is made sacrifice by satanic practitioners so they could have the psychic giftings of their targets because they're psychotic. Like I said, it doesn't matter if they're true or not. Those assholes think it's true. So when you think satanic practitioners, think psycho megalomaniacs that are cuckoo. And for you to speak up and speak out against it, you're the one that looks cuckoo. I realize that. But this is my lot in life. And I have the articulation and experience not only to deconstruct it, but also to survive it. So, if you're a citizen that is accountable, you have to research gang stalking, targeting of the individual, because your life is being impacted by it, whether or not you realize it. Because there's about 1/3 of the populace throughout the country that is a participant of it, or have witnessed the gang stalking of somebody. They use, one of their biggest proponents is to use slander to make